What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Project Cars 2. Today I'm going to be starting a brand new series called Ice Track Trials. This is where I'm going to take 3 cars down the Mercedes-Benz Ice Track each episode to see how they do. These can be any random cars, and today we're starting off with the Ford Focus RS RX. So basically what I'm going to do, every episode I'm going to take 3 different cars down on this Mercedes-Benz Ice Track to see how they do. They can be any cars in the whole game, so I want you guys to suggest cars for me down below. Just 3 random cars each episode. So like I said, today we're starting with the Ford Focus RS RX, which is a rallycross car. Now I wanted to start with this because I kind of wanted a benchmark car. You know, this, out of all the cars in the game, this is the sort of car that you would expect to do pretty well around here. I mean, this isn't a rallycross circuit, it is an ice circuit. However, you know, a car like this is, you know, it's going to be better down here, or it's expected to be better down here than, you know, a Formula 1 car or something, let's be honest. So I thought I should do a rallycross car, and I mean, I will do more rallycross cars in the future, definitely. So we start off with this Ford Focus. Now I do like the Ford Focus RS, it's a really cool car. The rallycross version is obviously no different, it's really nice to drive. However, on here it is a little bit scary, even though this car should be used to you know, should be used to icy terrain. You know, I mean, it's more for dirt and gravel and stuff. However, rallycross cars do have to go in the snow sometimes as well. It still is a bit scary on this track. Cornering and everything is a little bit terrifying. This is the quickest car we have today. And you know, rallycross cars, it's constant changing up the gears. You know, the gear ratios are really short with rallycross cars, and just rally cars in general, really. And because this is a very technical circuit, there's not many places where you'll get much speed. There's a couple of slight little straights, but it's mostly a very technical circuit. And this car was a bit scary because of that, you know. However, it definitely was the best car today, but that's not to be you know, it's to be expected when you see the next cars. But yeah, the Ford Focus RS RX did pretty well, a little bit terrifying. However, yeah, it did the course pretty nicely. Next up, we have the Toyota GT-86. Now I wanted to take a road car down this circuit today. I was thinking, should I take like one of the Road A, Road B cars, or should I go with one of the lower class cars? I decided that after the pretty damn quick Ford Focus, I'd go for a slower car. So this is actually in the Road G class, which is the lowest class of road cars in the game. And yeah, I just decided to pick the Toyota GT-86 because I quite like this car, and I was just interested to see how it would do on here. Now obviously this is going to be a lot slower than the Ford Focus. By the way, there will be a leaderboard on this series. I'll get to that at the end of the video. You know, I'll talk through all 3 cars at the end of the video and their times. Obviously this is going to be slower. You know, it's to be expected, right? However, this actually wasn't too bad because it was slower. You know, you didn't have as many grip problems. You know, obviously the Ford Focus is going to have more rally off-roady tires because that's what it's designed. You know, that's what it's designed for. This is a road car, so it's gonna have road tires. It's not gonna have race tires, obviously, but it is gonna have road tires. Now, I am doing a thing with the setups in each of these cars as well. Every car I'm putting on the stable setup. So cars have a 2 default setups. They have stable and they have loose. I'm putting all the cars on stable. It means they drive a little bit better. Now the rally car, the Ford Focus, doesn't have that. It has either, I think it has like an on-road one and an off-road one. So I put it on the off-road one. I think it's one of them is rallycross, one of them is circuit. So I put it on the rallycross one. However, with all these other cars, it's basically stable and loose. So this car, you know, it was actually not too bad to drive. All things considered, it really wasn't too bad. It was the easiest car out of the 3 that I drove today. And well, in this episode, which was today, as I'm recording this and uploading it. But yeah, it actually wasn't too bad. Like I said, it wasn't amazingly quick. However, because of that, you could probably actually take a bit more speed through some corners, or just at least be a bit more careful through corners. You know, so in that aspect, it was actually a lot easier to drive than the Focus. And the final vehicle for today, I decided to go for something a little bit crazy. The Slightly Mad Studios kart. Yes, a go-kart. I took a go-kart on a icy, snowy circuit. Now this was absolutely terrifying. You can probably see the driver there jerking around a bit every time I go around a corner. I use my Logitech G29 wheel for all of these. I'll be using that throughout the whole series. I always play Project Cars 2 with a wheel, so that won't be changing for this series. and this thing was absolutely terrifying. If you hit the slight snowy bankings at all, the car would spin around. No matter what, you keep the wheel completely straight, the car would spin around because it's so low down. The front splitter of the go-kart would just hit. If it hit a little bit of those snowy like bankings at the side, it would just spin it. It would just be terrible. Also, because go-karts are really meant for very, very flat, smooth circuits, even though this isn't really that bumpy, I mean, there's no hills or anything, it is still snow and ice. So my wheel was going ballistic while driving this thing. It was making so much noise, it was rattling so much, especially when going around the corners. It was actually quite terrifying. Now I'm glad that this thing only has one gear, because changing up gears and stuff, you have to short shift, especially with the Ford Focus. If you don't short shift, I mean, you have to short shift for that, even though the gears are pretty damn short to begin with. But you have to short shift with a lot of cars because you get too much revs and the wheels just spin and you'll spin around. So you do have to short shift. Luckily, this car only has this kart, should I say, only has one gear. It makes it a lot easier as I get really unsettled here. Also, if you go on the brakes too hard, like I did there, the car will step out. So you have to be so careful on the brakes. This car took me the longest out of all three to get a nice clean run out of. But yeah, I mean, it was absolutely terrifying. However, yeah, like I was saying, only having one gear was a lot easier. Meant that I didn't have to concentrate on gears, just keeping them first the whole time, drive it around, be really, really careful with the brakes. I mean, you had to be so careful. You had to be careful with the brakes with all these cars. You couldn't just slam on the brakes. Even though I have ABS completely on, you could not slam on the brakes. You had to be careful with it, or else it would slide. Especially this thing. And yeah, it was quite terrifying. However, I did manage to get it around the circuit eventually after quite a few spins and crazy attempts. The kart did go across the finish line. So that is the first episode of Ice Track Trials. Now for the leaderboard, we of course have the Ford Focus RS RX in first place with a 152.360. Not too much of a surprise there, I don't think. The Toyota GT-86 comes in second with a 205.860. I think that's actually a pretty reasonable time from the Toyota GT-86. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes up against some other cars, some other road cars in the same category. And then the kart goes into third place with a 229.780. To be honest, I think that is probably going to stay in last place forever. Maybe we'll see a surprise, maybe we'll see something beat it, but it doesn't have much power. It only has about 80 horsepower. And altogether, it's just, it's not really designed for a track like this. So yeah. However, I still think sub 2 minute 30. I think still a pretty decent time from that kart. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.